The world is not what it used to be. Men today face a unique storm of challenges, an endless flood of distractions, a constant demand for productivity, and a silent pressure to live up to standards no one can truly define. You scroll through your phone and see other men with bigger muscles, better cars, sharper suits, and more glamorous lives. You work harder but still feel like you're falling behind. You give your best, yet wonder why it never feels like enough. In this chaos, many men quietly ask themselves, what does it mean to be strong today? What does it mean to be a man in the modern world? The answer, I believe, lies not in what is new, but in what is old. 2,000 years ago, Roman generals, Greek philosophers, and ordinary citizens alike wrestled with the same questions we face today. How do I live with dignity? How do I endure hardship? How do I find peace when the world seems to be falling apart? Their solution was Stoicism. Now, if you've heard of Stoicism before, you might think of it as an outdated philosophy. Dusty old men in togas talking about things that no longer matter. Or maybe you think Stoicism means being emotionless, the stereotypical image of a man who never laughs, never cries, never bends. But that's not what Stoicism is about. Stoicism, at its core, is a way of training the mind. It's about learning what you can control and letting go of what you cannot. It's about building an inner fortress that no insult, no loss, no tragedy can destroy. It's about living with courage, discipline, and wisdom, not because life is easy, but because life is hard, and you choose to face it head on. The reason Stoicism is more relevant today than ever is because modern life is a battlefield of the mind. We are bombarded by information, manipulated by algorithms, sold dreams that leave us empty, and distracted by pleasures that make us weaker instead of stronger. The Stoics lived in an empire of sword and politics. We live in an empire of screens and noise. But the struggle is the same. How do we stay calm, rational, and strong when the world around us feels out of control? This book is not meant to be a lecture, and it's not meant to sound like a philosophy textbook. I am not here to quote Marcus Aurelius line by line or preach in abstract terms. I am here to give you a practical guide to living Stoicism in the 21st century as a modern man, to show you how these ancient ideas can help you when your boss yells at you, when your girlfriend leaves you, when your body gives up, when money runs short, when temptation whispers, and when doubt gnaws at your confidence. Imagine this. You walk into a meeting where everyone is panicking, and you are the only one who remains calm, collected, in control. You face rejection, failure, or even heartbreak, and instead of breaking down, you rise stronger, sharper, more determined. You stop comparing yourself to every man online, and instead build a life of quiet strength, grounded in values no one can take from you. That is the power Stoicism offers. But here is the twist. Stoicism is not about escaping life or detaching yourself from the world. It is not about hiding in a cave and meditating until nothing bothers you anymore. Stoicism is about engagement, about being fully alive, fully present, fully human, while refusing to let life's chaos dictate who you are. Over the next 10 chapters, we will walk through the core principles of Stoicism, not as ancient relics, but as living tools. You'll learn how to master your emotions without suppressing them. You'll discover the secret of controlling your response when life doesn't go your way. You'll find out why discipline is freedom, why pain can be a teacher, and why the greatest power any man can have is not over others, but over himself. At the end of this journey, I promise you one thing. You will not become a different man. You will become a stronger version of yourself, a man rooted in clarity, a man who cannot be broken by insults, losses, or fear, a man who understands that true strength is not about domination, but about mastery of the self. So let's begin. The old masters have left us their wisdom. Now it's time for us to bring it into our world. Brought to you by Audiobooks HUB, your source for stories that inspire. Chapter 1. The first test of a man in the modern world is not his strength, not his money, and not even his intelligence. It is his ability to control himself. We live in a culture that constantly tries to provoke us, to pull us into reactions we later regret. Someone cuts you off in traffic. You explode with anger. Your boss criticizes you. You stew in resentment. A woman rejects you. You spiral into self-doubt. Every day, the world throws bait at you, waiting to see if you'll bite. The Stoics believed the greatest power a man could have was mastery over his own mind. Epictetus, a former slave who rose to become one of the most respected teachers of Stoicism, said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Think about that for a moment. You may live in a free country. You may have money in the bank. You may have status and success. But if you are a slave to anger, to fear, to lust, to envy, then you are not free. This is a paradox of modern masculinity. Men today chase external symbols of strength, bigger muscles, higher salaries, more women, more followers, while often ignoring the one battlefield that matters most, the war within. And the truth is, if you can't win that war, all the rest will crumble. Let's make this practical. Imagine you are in an argument with your partner. She says something sharp. You feel the fire rise in your chest. The instinct is to hit back, to win the exchange, to prove you're right. But where does that usually lead? More shouting, more bitterness, more damage. What if instead you stopped, took a breath, and chose not to be ruled by impulse? What if you let the storm pass before you answered? That is Stoicism in action, not the absence of feeling, but the choice of reason over reaction. The Stoics taught that we cannot control the world, but we can always control how we respond. And this is the first principle of Stoicism for the modern man. Master your response, and you master your life. Now, let's be honest. This is not easy. Everything in our society is designed to keep you reactive. Social media thrives on your outrage. News headlines are written to spark fear. Advertisers prey on your insecurity. Even friends and coworkers sometimes feed off your anger or envy. The system wants you to be a slave to your emotions because a man ruled by impulse is easy to manipulate. But a man who remains calm when others lose their heads, that man is dangerous. That man cannot be controlled. That man stands apart. Here's a small practice you can begin today. The next time you feel anger, don't fight it and don't feed it. Simply observe it. Say to yourself, "This is anger. I feel it rising." Take 3 slow breaths before you act or speak. If possible, remove yourself from the situation, even for a minute. What you will notice is that emotions, like storms, pass. And when they pass, clarity returns. Another practice. Each morning, before you face the day, remind yourself that you will be tested. Say, "Today, I will meet people who are rude, selfish, ungrateful, or unjust. But they cannot control my response. My mind is mine." This mental preparation, which Marcus Aurelius himself practiced, creates a shield. You stop being surprised when challenges come and instead greet them as training. Think of it like the gym. If you lift weights, you know the principle: resistance builds strength. The same is true of life. Every insult, every setback, every irritation is a weight placed before you. You can let it crush you, or you can lift it, grow stronger, and build unshakable control. Let me tell you a story. There was once a young man who worked in a chaotic office. His boss constantly shouted, co-workers gossiped, and deadlines never ended. He used to explode with frustration, snapping at colleagues, carrying anger home every night. His health suffered. His relationship suffered. His peace was gone. One day, he stumbled across the writings of Seneca. He read the line, "A man who suffers before is necessary suffers more than is necessary." It hit him like a hammer. He realized he was not just enduring the stress of his job. He was multiplying it by reacting badly. From that day forward, he made a quiet vow: I will not give my mind to chaos. He began practicing silence when provoked, calm breathing when insulted, and perspective when overwhelmed. Within months, he was not only calmer, he was respected. People looked at him differently. His boss still shouted, but it didn't enter his heart. His co-workers still gossiped, but it didn't disturb his mind. He had built an inner fortress. This is what you must begin to build for yourself. Not a wall that shuts out life, but a fortress that allows you to face it unshaken. Some men may hear this and think, but if I don't react, won't people walk all over me? Won't I seem weak? No, control is not weakness. It is strength. Any fool can explode. Any coward can lash out. It takes far greater power to remain steady when others try to shake you. Stoicism does not mean you accept injustice or never defend yourself. It means you choose the right response, not the impulsive one. The truth is, the world respects a man who cannot be provoked. Think of the leaders you admire most. Are they men who scream at every insult, or men who stand calm in the storm? The answer is obvious. The calm man commands himself, and in doing so, commands respect. So, as you step into the modern world, remember this. Every day you are being tested, not in grand battles with swords and shields, but in small moments. When someone disrespects you, when plans fall apart, when temptation whispers, when fear rises. Each of these moments is an invitation. Will you be a slave to reaction, or will you be a master response? If you choose mastery, you begin the true Stoic path. You stop being a man blown about by every wind and become a man who stands rooted, steady, unshaken. And that is the foundation of all strength. Chapter 2. Every man at some point faces this question. Why do I feel restless, even when I get what I want? You work for months to afford the new car, and once you get it, the excitement fades. You chase the attention of a woman, but when she finally likes you, the thrill disappears. You dream of more money, more status, more recognition. But each time you reach one peak, another mountain rises in the distance. This is a trap of modern life, endless chasing. And the Stoics knew this trap long before Instagram or luxury brands existed. They called it the problem of desire. Desire is not evil in itself. We all need goals, ambitions, and motivations. The danger comes when a man builds his entire happiness on things outside his control. If your peace depends on the opinions of others, you will never be at peace. If your confidence depends on your bank account, You will always feel insecure. If your joy depends on things that can be taken away, then you are not free. You are a hostage. Epictetus drew a clear line. Some things are within our control, others are not. Our thoughts, our choices, our actions, these are ours. Fame, fortune, health, luck, other people's opinions, these are not. The modern man often reverses this, pouring his energy into chasing what he cannot control, while neglecting the one kingdom that is truly his own mind. Let me give you a modern example. A man wakes up and checks his phone. His mood instantly depends on what he sees. How many likes did he get? What messages came in? What news is trending? His emotional state is no longer his. It belongs to strangers, algorithms, and headlines. He has handed over the keys to his mind. Now imagine another man. He wakes up, takes a moment to breathe, reflects on what is in his control today, and sets a clear intention. I will act with discipline, courage, and calm. He still faces the same world, but his center is not shaken because he owns his attention. That is the difference Stoicism makes. Here's the second principle for the modern man. Control what you can, release what you cannot. But saying this is easy. Living it is hard. The pull of desire is strong. We live in a world built to make us want more money, more recognition, more approval. And yet, the Stoics taught that the path to freedom is not through adding more, but through needing less. Seneca put it sharply. It is not the man who is too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor. This hits harder in our time than in his. Think of it. If you always need the next upgrade, the next deal, the next woman, the next achievement to feel satisfied, then you are living in chains. You may appear successful to the world, but inside, you are starving. The modern man must learn a discipline that feels almost radical today. Contentment, not in the sense of laziness or settling, but in the sense of inner sufficiency. You are not ruled by craving. You can want something and pursue it, but you do not collapse if you do not get it. You enjoy gains without clinging to them. You endure losses without losing yourself. That is freedom. One practice the Stoics used was a mental exercise called negative visualization. Instead of constantly imagining what they wanted, they would imagine losing what they already had, not to depress themselves, but to remind themselves of life's fragility and to make them appreciate the present more deeply. For example, the next time you kiss your child goodnight, pause and think, what if this were the last time? Suddenly, you feel more love, more gratitude, more presence. Or the next time you sit in your car, instead of dreaming of a better one, remind yourself, this too could be gone tomorrow. Instantly, the ordinary becomes precious. Try this today. Pick one thing you take for granted, a meal, a friend, even the roof over your head, and imagine life without it. Then return to the present and see it as a gift. This simple shift rewires the mind from craving to gratitude. Another practice is voluntary discomfort. The Stoics would sometimes sleep on the floor, wear rough clothes, or eat simple meals, even when they had wealth. Why? To train themselves to realize they did not need luxuries to survive. In our age, this might mean fasting for a day, taking a cold shower, or walking instead of driving. These small acts remind you that comfort is sweet but not necessary. And once you know that, fear of loss loses its grip on you. Let me share a story. A young entrepreneur I knew built his identity around money. Every success lifted him, Every failure crushed him. His happiness was tied to numbers on a screen. Then, after a sudden market crash, he lost nearly everything. For weeks he was broken, until he picked up Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. There he read, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That line changed him. Slowly he rebuilt, not just his finances, but his perspective. He no longer tied his worth to wealth. Money became a tool, not his master. Years later, he told me losing that fortune was the best thing that ever happened to him. Without it, he would have remained a slave to things he couldn't control. Here is the truth. Life will take from you. Money will vanish. Lovers will leave. Health will decline. Possessions will break. The only question is, when those things go, will you fall apart with them? Or will you stand strong? Because your peace rests on something deeper. A modern man who learns Stoicism does not stop striving, but he shifts his foundation. He builds his house on rock, not sand. He enjoys what comes, but does not depend on it. He loses without despair and gains without arrogance. He belongs to himself, not to his cravings. So as you move forward, remember this principle. Control what is yours. Let go of what is not. If you can master this one idea, your life changes. You stop being a puppet pulled by strings of desire and fear, and become a man who moves by choice, by reason, by strength. And that is where true freedom begins. Chapter 3. One of the hardest lessons for any man to learn is this. Life is not fair. You will work hard and still lose. You will love deeply and still be betrayed. You will plan carefully and still be blindsided by chaos. The world does not bend itself to your expectations. And if you live believing it should, you will suffer endlessly. The Stoics faced this reality head on. They did not sugarcoat life with promises that everything happens for a reason, or that the universe will reward you if you are good. They knew life is unpredictable, brutal at times, and utterly indifferent to our desires. And yet, they found freedom not by denying this truth, but by accepting it. This brings us to the third principle for the modern man. Do not demand that life be easy. Prepare yourself to be strong. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote in his private journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you'll find strength." Think about who he was, the most powerful man in the world at the time. Yet even he admitted he couldn't control fate. Plagues, wars, betrayal, and death surrounded him. Still, he chose not to waste his energy cursing reality. Instead, he focused on governing himself. Modern men often do the opposite. We complain when traffic is slow, when the Wi-Fi lags, when someone doesn't text back. We waste energy being outraged at things that were never under our control in the first place. The Stoic man trains himself differently. He expects hardship. He expects loss. He expects difficulty. And when they come, he does not collapse. He endures. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine two men both lose their jobs. The first curses his company, blames the economy, drowns himself in alcohol, and spirals into despair. The second feels the sting, yes, but then asks, what is still within my control? He updates his skills, sharpens his discipline, strengthens his body, reaches out to new contacts. The first man resists reality and suffers twice. The second accepts reality and moves forward stronger. The difference is not the event. It is the mindset. The Stoics had a phrase for this: amor fati, the love of fate. It does not mean enjoying pain for the sake of pain. It means seeing every twist of life, even the bitter ones, as part of the path you are meant to walk. Instead of crying, "Why me?" you learn to say, "Why not me? This too will shape me." This mindset is especially urgent today because modern men are surrounded by comfort. We have climate control, fast food, instant entertainment. But comfort, if unchecked, makes men fragile. When hardship finally strikes, as it always will, we are unprepared. Stoicism is the antidote. It trains you to expect trials so that when they arrive, you are not shocked but steady. Here's a practice. Each morning, remind yourself something will go wrong today. Someone will test me. Something will fail. This is not pessimism. It is preparation. When the inevitable setback comes, instead of shouting, "This shouldn't have happened," you nod and say, "Ah, here it is, the test I expected." Suddenly, the frustration loses its sting. Another practice: deliberately seek challenges. Push your body in training. Take on a project that scares you. Have the difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Each time you choose hardship voluntarily, you train resilience. Then, when involuntary hardship comes, as it always does, you are ready. Let me tell you a story. During the 2nd century, the Stoic philosopher Epictetus was born a slave. He had no wealth, no freedom, no rights. His master even crippled his leg, leaving him lame for life. By all accounts, he should have been bitter and broken. Yet Epictetus taught generations of students the most powerful truth. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. He could not control his chains, but he could control his mind, and that made him freer than many wealthy men around him. Now imagine your own life. What is your chain? Maybe it's a financial struggle. Maybe it's a broken relationship. Maybe it's a shadow of past mistakes. You may not be able to erase those things, but you can decide how you carry them. You can let them drag you into despair, or you can turn them into fuel for strength. The modern man must stop wishing for a smooth path and start training for a rough one. Hardship will come. That is not a question. The only question is, will it break you or will it make you? Here's a truth you may resist, but one you need to hear. Ease never made a man strong. The moments that will define you are not the ones where everything goes well. They're the ones where you are struck, bent, and tested, and still refuse to give up. So here's your challenge. The next time life slaps you in the face, pause. Do not curse fate. Do not waste energy asking why. Instead, ask, how can this shape me into a stronger man? If you can do this, you have already stepped into the Stoic path. The world does not owe you comfort. The world does not owe you fairness. But you owe it to yourself to grow stronger than the storms you face. And when you do, you discover a quiet truth. The man who expects hardship, who does not demand life be easy, is the one who is truly unshakable. Chapter 4. Every man wants control. We want control over our careers, our relationships, our health, our future. But if you've lived long enough, you already know how little of life truly bends to your will. Deals fall apart. People betray you. Accidents happen. Illness comes. The future refuses to obey your plans. The Stoics understood this with brutal clarity. You do not control outcomes. You only control effort. This is the fourth principle for the modern man. Focus on actions, not results. At first, this sounds depressing. Does it mean we should just give up on goals? Stop caring about success? Not at all. It means shifting your attention from what you wish would happen to what you can do right now. Take an athlete, for example. He cannot control if he wins the game. Injuries, weather, referees, luck, all can change the outcome. But he can control how hard he trains, how disciplined he is, how sharp his focus remains. A Stoic athlete measures himself not by the scoreboard, but by whether he gave his best effort in line with his values. If victory comes, he is grateful. If defeat comes, he remains steady because he knows he did all he could. This principle is powerful for the modern man because we live in a culture obsessed with results. How much money do you make? How many followers do you have? How many women have you dated? How fast did you climb the ladder? Men measure themselves by numbers outside their control and then wonder why they feel anxious, inadequate, restless. The Stoic approach is a radical shift. Measure yourself by effort, not by outcome. Let's make this practical. Imagine you go to a job interview. You prepare well, present yourself honestly, give clear answers. But the decision isn't yours. It depends on the hiring manager, company politics, maybe even luck. If you tie your self-worth to getting the job, rejection will crush you. But if you tie your self-worth to how you prepared and presented yourself, you walk out with dignity no matter the outcome. This mindset does not make you passive. It makes you unstoppable. Why? Because you no longer waste energy obsessing over what you cannot command. Instead, you pour all your strength into what you can control. This creates calm focus, not anxious desperation. Here's a small exercise. Each night, instead of asking, "Did I succeed today?" ask, "Did I live by my values today? Did I act with courage? Did I stay disciplined? Did I control my temper? Did I give my best effort?" If yes, then today was a victory, no matter what the world says. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, just that you do the right thing, the rest doesn't matter. But here's the challenge. Our ego hates this. The ego wants recognition, applause, validation. It whispers, if no one sees it, if no one rewards it, what's the point? The Stoic answer, the point is that you see it. You are the judge of yourself. Your integrity is the reward. Let me share a story. There was a young soldier stationed far from home. Day after day, he trained, drilled, and followed orders, yet no one praised him. He envied others who got promoted quickly while he remained unnoticed. One night, his commander saw him practicing alone after hours and asked, "Why do you train so hard when no one is watching?" The soldier replied, "Because I am always watching." Years later, he rose through the ranks, not because he chased recognition, but because he trained himself to focus on effort, not approval. The modern man must learn the same discipline. Whether you are lifting weights, building a business, or raising a family, the true question is not will others notice, but did I give what was mine to give? This principle also kills procrastination. Think of how often men delay action because they fear failure. What if it doesn't work? What if I look foolish? What if I don't win? But if the result is not yours to control, then failure is irrelevant. Your only job is to act with courage. Once you see this, excuses evaporate. You stop asking, will this succeed? And start asking, Is this the right thing to do? If the answer is yes, you move. And here's the paradox. When you stop obsessing over results and focus only on action, you often succeed more. Why? Because your mind is calm, your energy is focused, and your persistence does not break under setbacks. The man obsessed with results burns out quickly. The man focused on action keeps moving forward, storm after storm. Here's a practice you can begin today. Write down 3 things you will do, not achieve, but do. Make them fully within your control. Train for an hour. Read 10 pages. Reach out to one friend. Finish one task. Then judge the day by whether you did those things, not by what happened after. You'll be amazed at how much peace this brings. Because in the end, the Stoics were right. The scoreboard is never yours. The applause is never yours. The victory is never yours. Only your effort belongs to you. And if you own that fully, then nothing, no failure, no rejection, no loss can take your dignity. So ask yourself tonight, am I living as a man chained to outcomes or as a man free in his actions? The answer may change everything. Chapter 5. A man's strength is often measured not in how he charges forward, but in how he stands firm when everything seems to be pulling him apart. One of the greatest challenges modern men face is the weight of their emotions. Anger, envy, fear, and desire. These forces can feel overwhelming, like wild horses dragging a cart in opposite directions. Yet Stoicism offers a simple but powerful truth. Emotions are not our masters. They are signals, messengers, whispers of the mind and body. And while we cannot always choose what emotions arise, we can choose how we respond. Think about anger for a moment. Every man has felt it. The rush of blood to the face, the pounding chest, the sharp words ready to leap from the tongue. In those moments, anger seems like power. It feels raw, primal, even righteous. But how often has that same anger led to regret? Broken relationships, lost jobs, shame, and damage that lingers far longer than the heat of the moment. The Stoics understood this well. Seneca wrote more about anger than almost any other emotion, calling it a brief madness. He saw that anger robs a man of control, clouding his reason and leaving him weak. But what if you could stand in the middle of that storm and not be swept away? What if you could feel anger rise within you and simply acknowledge it? Observe it without letting it rule your tongue or your fists. This is a practice of Stoic emotional mastery. Learning to pause, to step back, to see emotions for what they are. They are not destiny. They are not commands. They are temporary visitors. Consider fear. Fear has always been a constant in men's lives. Today, it might not be the fear of wild animals or invading armies, but still there. The fear of failure, the fear of being judged, the fear of not living up to expectations. Fear paralyzes. It whispers in your ear, don't try, don't risk, don't step forward. Yet Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that most fears are born from the imagination, not reality. The danger is rarely as great as the mind paints it. And when it is, fear only weakens your ability to meet it. Courage, then, is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act rightly despite it. Desire, too, can be a chain. The modern man is bombarded by it constantly. Advertising, social media, endless temptations of pleasure, wealth, status, and distraction. We are told to want more, to chase more, to never be satisfied. And so many men live restless lives, running after things that never truly fill the emptiness inside. The Stoics warned against this long ago. Epictetus said that true wealth is not having many possessions, but needing few. Desire is a fire that consumes endlessly unless you learn to master it. By practicing gratitude, by focusing on what you already have and what truly matters, you break free from its grip. This does not mean the Stoic man becomes cold, emotionless, or detached from life. Quite the opposite. Stoicism does not tell you to kill your emotions, but to live in harmony with them, to let reason guide passion rather than passion destroying reason. When you learn to hold your emotions lightly, to watch them, question them, and respond deliberately, you begin to feel a deeper strength. You are no longer a slave to impulses. You become the master of yourself. Imagine yourself in a heated argument with someone close to you. The old response might be shouting, slamming doors, or holding grudges. But the Stoic practice invites you to pause, to remind yourself, their words cannot harm my soul unless I let them. My peace is mine to keep or to give away. That pause creates space. In that space, you find clarity. And in clarity, you find power. The truth is, life will test you again and again. People will insult you. Circumstances will frustrate you. Your own desires will try to pull you off course. But every test is also an opportunity to strengthen your discipline, to deepen your calm, to prove to yourself that you are more than your impulses. This is a warrior's path in the modern world. Not one of swords and shields, but patience, self-control, and steady endurance. Mastering emotions is not achieved overnight. It's a lifelong practice, built one choice at a time. The choice to take a breath instead of snapping back. The choice to act with courage despite fear. The choice to remain content rather than grasp endlessly for more. Each small victory builds a foundation, and over time, that foundation becomes unshakable. So the question is not whether emotions will come, they will always. The real question is, will you serve them or will they serve you? A Stoic man chooses the latter. He does not deny that he feels. He simply refuses to let those feelings chain him. He is free. Chapter 6. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you could become. Every man knows this truth on some level, but few live it. In a world where distractions are everywhere, where comfort is sold at every corner, discipline has become rare. And because it is rare, it has become one of the greatest forms of power a man can possess. The Stoics understood discipline not as punishment or self-denial for its own sake, but as freedom. At first, that sounds like a contradiction. How can restraint create freedom? Yet think about it. The man without discipline is a slave to his impulses, his laziness, his cravings. He cannot resist temptation. He cannot focus. He cannot endure discomfort. He is tossed around like a leaf in the wind. But the disciplined man, the man who can say no to what weakens him and yes to what strengthens him, is free. He is not ruled by pleasure, by fear, or by the opinions of others. He becomes the ruler of himself. Discipline shows itself in small, daily choices. Waking up when the alarm rings, even when your body begs for more sleep. Putting in work when nobody is watching. Training your body, not just for appearance, but for strength, health, and resilience. Choosing healthy food over instant gratification. Staying focused on a task when distractions call your name. To outsiders, these may look like sacrifices, but to the Stoic, they are investments. Each choice is a stone laid in the foundation of an unshakable life. The truth is, modern society secretly works against discipline. Everything is designed to capture your attention and make you comfortable. Fast food, endless scrolling, streaming services, quick pleasures at the tap of a screen. None of these things are evil on their own, but together they create a life of passivity. A man who indulges constantly may not notice his chains because they feel soft and pleasant, but soft chains are still chains. Discipline is the key that breaks them. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that life is short and that each day matters. He would write to himself, "At dawn, when you rise unwillingly, let this thought be present. I am rising to the work of a human being." He knew that discipline is not glamorous. It is not about heroic acts in rare moments. It is about consistency, about showing up every day and doing what must be done. The disciplined man does not wait for motivation because he knows motivation is fleeting. He acts out of principle, not mood. Some men fear that discipline will make their lives rigid, joyless, or boring. But in practice, the opposite is true. When you master discipline, you gain control over your time and energy. You have more space for what matters most. You can enjoy leisure without guilt because it does not control you. You can pursue your goals with clarity because distractions no longer pull you off course. Discipline creates structure, and within that structure, true freedom emerges. Think of an athlete training for competition. To outsiders, his routine looks harsh. Early mornings, strict diets, countless hours of practice. Yet when the day of event arrives, his discipline gives him power, strength, and grace. He moves freely because he has trained his body and mind to obey him. Life itself is no different. Discipline is the training ground for greatness. Even the smallest disciplines matter. Keeping your space clean, following through on promises, controlling your speech so that your words are deliberate and not careless. Each small act shapes your character. Each habit becomes a thread, and together they weave the fabric of who you are. Without discipline, men drift. They waste time, energy, and potential. They look back years later and wonder where their strength went. But the man of discipline knows that every choice shapes his future. He does not drift. He sails with purpose. The Stoic path does not demand perfection. You will stumble. You will give in at times to weakness. But discipline is built not in avoiding failure, but in standing up again after you fall. Each time you return to the path, you will grow stronger. Discipline is not a prison. It is the practice of choosing the man you want to become again and again. So ask yourself, who rules your life? Your impulses or your principles? The Stoic answer is clear. Discipline is not a burden. It is the backbone of strength, the silent force that shapes a man into something greater than comfort ever could. Chapter 7. No man lives alone. No matter how independent, strong, or self-reliant he tries to be, he is always part of a larger world. Family, friends, colleagues, society. And here lies one of the greatest tests for a modern man: how to live among others with wisdom, strength, and dignity. Stoicism teaches that a man's character is revealed not in isolation, but in how he interacts with those around him. We often think of Stoics as cold, detached philosophers sitting on a mountain far away from society. But this is a misunderstanding. The greatest Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, were deeply engaged with people. Marcus was an emperor. Seneca was an advisor and statesman. Epictetus was a teacher surrounded by students. They lived in the mess of human interaction. Their philosophy was not about avoiding people, but about dealing with them wisely. One of the hardest truths to accept is that people will disappoint you. They will insult you, betray you, or act selfishly. Marcus Aurelius began his meditations by reminding himself every morning, "Today you will meet the ungrateful, the arrogant, the deceitful, the envious, the unkind. They are so because they cannot tell good from evil." He wrote this not to make himself bitter, but to prepare himself. By expecting human weakness, he was never shocked by it, and because he expected it, he could meet it with patience instead of rage. In our modern world, this lesson is just as vital. Every man will encounter rudeness in traffic, unfairness at work, gossip from friends, or betrayal in relationships. The Stoic approach is not a fight against the fact that people are flawed, but to accept it calmly. When you stop expecting perfection from others, you free yourself from constant disappointment. But Stoicism is not only about endurance, it is also about responsibility. We are not called to withdraw from society, but to contribute to it. The Stoics believe we are all citizens of a larger whole. Just as a hand exists to serve the body, a man exists to serve the greater good. This doesn't mean bending to every demand or sacrificing your integrity. It means living in such a way that your presence strengthens the lives of others. How does this look in daily life? It means listening instead of always speaking. It means showing kindness where others show cruelty. It means being reliable in a world where many break their promises. It means treating others not according to their behavior, but according to your principles. You cannot control whether people are just, honest, or kind, but you can control whether you are. And in that choice lies your honor. Relationships are perhaps the greatest training ground for Stoicism. A partner may test your patience. A child may stretch your endurance. A boss may push your pride. Each moment of conflict is a chance to practice self-control, compassion, and perspective. Instead of reacting with anger or pride, you can ask yourself, what response is worthy of my character? What action reflects the man I want to be? This pause changes everything. It turns irritation into discipline and conflict into growth. Stoicism also teaches detachment in relationships, not coldness, but balance. The people you love are not truly yours. They are their own souls, their own lives. At any moment, fate may take them away. The Stoics did not deny this painful truth. Instead, they faced it. Epictetus taught his students to remember the mortality of those they loved, not to reduce love, but to deepen it. When you realize nothing is permanent, you cherish more fiercely, forgive more quickly, and waste less time on petty quarrels. Modern men often confuse strength with isolation, thinking that needing no one is the mark of a real man. But Stoicism offers a different vision. True strength is not in shutting people out, but in opening yourself with courage, to love without clinging, to give without expecting, to stand firm in your principles while walking among men with compassion. In the end, the Stoic man is not shaped by solitude, but by society. He learns patience from the impatient, kindness from the cruel, and wisdom from the foolish. He treats every encounter, good or bad, as training for the soul, and in doing so, he becomes not only stronger for himself, but an example for others. The measure of man is not only in how he stands alone, but in how he walks among others. The Stoic path demands both inner strength and outer responsibility. To master both is to live with dignity, in harmony with the world around you. Chapter 8. One of the greatest battles a man will ever fight is not against the world, but against his own mind. Anxiety, worry, and endless overthinking are the modern plagues of masculinity. We live in a time of constant noise, notifications, news, obligations, opportunities, and with it comes a restless spirit. A man lies awake at night, replaying conversations, worrying about what could go wrong tomorrow, imagining futures that may never come. Yet the Stoics faced the same storm of thoughts 2,000 years ago, and they left us tools to master it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you'll find strength." The Stoics believe that most suffering comes not from reality itself, but from our thoughts about reality. Things happen, yes, but it is our judgments, our interpretations, our exaggerations that create the heaviness. Imagine you lose your job. The fact is simple. You're unemployed. But the mind adds layers. I am a failure. I will never recover. Everyone will look down on me. These are not truths, but stories we tell ourselves. And those stories create unnecessary pain. The first Stoic practice against overthinking is to separate what is in your control from what is not. Epictetus called this the dichotomy of control. If something is within your power, your effort, your decisions, your words, then act on it. If it is not, other people's opinions, the past, the weather, death, then let it go. Worrying about what you cannot change is like trying to stop the ocean with your hands. It wastes energy and leaves you drowning. The second practice is to live in the present. Anxiety thrives in the future, imagining all that could go wrong. Regret lives in the past, replaying mistakes endlessly. The Stoics insisted that the present moment is all we ever truly possess. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future." When your mind races, ask yourself, what is required of me right now in this moment? Often, the answer is simple. Take one step, do one task, breathe once more. The present is always bearable. Another enemy of peace is comparison. In our connected world, men constantly measure themselves against others. Success, wealth, strength, attractiveness, status. But comparison is a thief. It shifts your focus from your own path to someone else's, leaving you restless and envious. The Stoics reminded themselves daily that the only standard worth measuring is your own progress. Are you better than you were yesterday? Are you more disciplined, calmer, wiser? That is the true scoreboard of life. The Stoics also practice what we might call mental training. They would prepare themselves each day for challenges, rehearsing in their minds how they would respond. This was not negative thinking, but fortification. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that each day would bring difficulties. So when they arrived, he was not surprised. Seneca practiced premeditation of evils, imagining loss, hardship, and even death, so that when life struck, he would not collapse under the shock. By facing fears in the mind, they became less terrifying in reality. In our time, mental training can mean something simple. Before an important meeting, remind yourself, I cannot control their opinion, only my preparation and my composure. Before walking into a difficult conversation, tell yourself, I cannot control their words, only my response. By rehearsing calmly, You disarm the spiral of anxious thinking and replace it with deliberate focus. But perhaps the most powerful Stoic tool for peace is gratitude. Overthinking thrives on scarcity, on what is missing, what could go wrong, what we do not have. Gratitude shifts the mind to abundance. Each day, the Stoics reflected on the gift of being alive, of breathing, of having the chance to act with virtue. Epictetus said, "Do not spoil what you have by desiring what you have not." Gratitude anchors you to the present and quiets the restless voice of not enough. Peace of mind does not mean silence of thought. The Stoics were not trying to erase thinking, but to guide it, to turn the mind from a restless enemy into a disciplined ally. The modern man can learn to step outside his thoughts, to observe them without being ruled by them, to question whether they are true or useful. This practice takes time, but each small victory adds strength. A man who masters his mind becomes unshakable. He is no longer tossed by every worry, no longer drained by what-ifs. He carries calm into chaos, clarity into confusion. Others feel his steadiness. Because true peace is visible, it radiates in his words, his posture, his choices. And so, the Stoic path to peace is not about escaping the world, but about training the mind to walk through it with calm authority. The storms of life will come, but the Stoic man learns to be the rock upon which the waves break. Chapter 9. Every man carries ambitions within him, dreams of achievement, visions of success. The quiet desire builds something lasting. Ambition itself is not the enemy. It is fuel, a fire that drives men to grow, to strive, to overcome obstacles. Without ambition, progress would die. But unchecked ambition can also consume a man. It can make him restless, blind, and endlessly dissatisfied. The Stoics understood this tension well, and they taught a balance. To pursue goals with energy and discipline, but without letting them chain your soul. In our modern world, ambition is often glorified. Men are told to hustle harder, to chase wealth, status, and recognition at all costs. Success is measured by the size of your house, the number of followers on your screen, the luxury in your garage. And yet, how many men reach these heights only to feel empty? They sacrifice family, health, peace of mind, only to discover that their victories brought no fulfillment. The Stoics warned against this illusion centuries ago. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who is too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." The Stoic view of ambition begins with clarity. What is truly worth pursuing? Not every desire deserves your strength. A Stoic man does not chase goals simply because others say they are valuable. He examines them carefully. Will this goal make me a better man, more virtuous, more free? Or will it entangle me in endless craving and dependence? To pursue honorably chosen goals is noble. To chase empty illusions is slavery. But once a worthy goal is chosen, the Stoic man does not hesitate. He applies discipline, persistence, and courage. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that the true purpose of life was to act in accordance with reason and virtue, to do the work of a human being. A Stoic does not sit back waiting for fate to hand him success. He takes responsibility for his effort. He does not control the outcome, but he controls his dedication. This is a second great lesson. Ambition without attachment. The Stoics pursued excellence, but they refused to tie their worth to results. Epictetus taught his students to play your part well, but remember that the outcome is not in your power. Imagine training tirelessly for a competition. You give everything, but on the day of the event, weather, luck, or other competitors may decide the outcome. If your worth depends only on victory, you are fragile. But if your worth rests on the fact that you gave your best with honor, then no outcome can rob you of peace. Modern men often burn out because they chase goals with desperation, believing happiness waits only at the finish line. But the Stoics flip this idea. Happiness is found in the path itself, in daily action aligned with virtue. The man who works hard each day, who disciplines his body, sharpens his mind, and strengthens his character, is already successful, whether or not the world crowns him with wealth or fame. This perspective does not kill ambition. It purifies it. It removes the poison of envy, comparison, and greed, leaving only the clean desire to grow and contribute. The Stoic man can build businesses, lead nations, write books, raise families. He can strive for greatness without losing himself, because he knows that greatness is not in possessions, but in the quality of his soul. There is also a warning in Stoic thought. Ambition that serves only the self leads to emptiness. Ambition that serves others leads to legacy. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wielded immense power, yet he constantly reminded himself to act for the good of his people, not for personal glory. Modern men, too, must ask, am I chasing this goal for applause, or because it brings real value? Will this make the world even a little better, or just make me look better? The Stoic man seeks ambition that uplifts, not ambition that corrupts. And finally, the Stoics taught acceptance. Despite discipline, wisdom, and courage, life will not always reward effort. Fate may take what you build. Fortune may deny you what you seek. Ambition without stoicism crumbles in disappointment. But ambition with stoicism remains unshaken, because a Stoic man knows his worth lies not in what he achieves, but in how he lives. So let ambition burn within you, but let stoicism shape its flame. Pursue goals with clarity, work with discipline. Strive for greatness, but never at the cost of your peace or your virtue. The man who walks this path will not only succeed, he will remain free. Chapter 10. A man is often defined not by his victories, but by how he faces failure. Modern life tempts men to hide their mistakes, to avoid discomfort, and to surround themselves with appearances of perfection. Social media, for instance, encourages a polished image, where mistakes are erased and only success is displayed. But life is not Instagram perfect. Failure is inevitable. Loss is inevitable. Disappointment is inevitable. And the Stoics teach a revolutionary truth. Failure is not the enemy. Avoiding failure is. The Stoic man understands that mistakes are opportunities to learn, to grow, and to strengthen character. Epictetus wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters." Every failure contains a lesson if you are willing to see it. Every setback is a chance to practice resilience, humility, and wisdom. The modern man often feels shame in failure, but the Stoic turns shame into reflection. Instead of asking, "Why me?" he asks, "What can I control now?" Fear of failure drives men to procrastinate, to overthink, to avoid action. The paradox is clear. The more you fear failing, the less you try, and the more opportunities pass by. The Stoics faced the fear of death, betrayal, and disgrace daily, and yet they acted. They did not live in comfort, waiting for perfect conditions. They faced reality head-on. knowing that courage, integrity, and perseverance mattered far more than flawless outcomes. Resilience is a companion of failure. Marcus Aurelius faced revolts, plagues, and betrayal during his reign, yet he continued to govern with clarity and reason. Each blow of fate was met with acceptance and calm focus. Similarly, the modern man must understand that setbacks are temporary unless he allows them to define him. You cannot control every outcome, but you can control your reaction. You can rise, adapt, and continue forward. Another Stoic principle is humility in success and composure in failure. Success can be as dangerous as failure if it inflates the ego. The man who becomes arrogant in victory is just as trapped as the man who collapses in defeat. Stoicism teaches equilibrium. Meet triumphs and losses alike with the same calm, measured perspective. Victory is fleeting. Your character is permanent. Let's consider practical strategies. First, cultivate perspective. When a failure strikes, ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years? Will this matter in 50 years? Most events lose their weight when seen in the context of a lifetime. Second, analyze without judgment. Identify what went wrong, what was in your control, and what wasn't. Take responsibility for your choices, but release blame for what you could not influence. Third, take immediate action. What can you do now to improve, correct, or prevent recurrence? Action turns reflection into growth. The Stoic approach to failure also includes premeditation. Before starting any task, imagine possible setbacks, mistakes, or obstacles. This is not pessimism, but mental preparation. By anticipating difficulty, you reduce shock, manage emotion, and respond with strategy rather than panic. It is a practice of readiness. Finally, embrace the inevitability of imperfection. You will fail. Others will disappoint you. The world will not bend to your ideals. But your response to failure is entirely yours. The man who endures with dignity, learns from mistakes, and moves forward builds an inner fortress stronger than any circumstance could shake. The lesson is clear. Failure is not shameful. Stagnation is. Avoiding risk, seeking comfort, and fearing missteps erodes character. The Stoic man seeks growth, not comfort. He knows that true mastery is found not in avoiding the fall, but in rising every time. And in this, he finds freedom, the freedom to act, the freedom to learn, the freedom to live fully without being enslaved by fear. Conclusion: as we reach the end of this journey through Stoicism for the modern man, it is easy to feel overwhelmed. There are principles to learn, practices to apply, and habits to cultivate. But remember this: Stoicism is not a list of rules. It is a way of life. It is a mindset, a daily practice, a lens through which to view the world. It is not perfection, but progress. The path we have walked together has shown us 10 essential truths: to accept life's hardships, to focus on actions instead of outcomes, to master emotions, to cultivate discipline, to engage wisely with others, to strengthen the mind, to channel ambition with clarity, and to embrace failure as a teacher. Each chapter has offered tools for building resilience, self-mastery, and strength, not in some abstract, theoretical way, but in practical, applicable ways for the modern man. What binds these lessons together is one central idea: freedom. True freedom is not found in wealth, comfort, or external approval. It is found in self-control, wisdom, and virtue. A Stoic man is free because he cannot be undone by fortune, insult, or circumstance. He walks through the world with calm, dignity, and purpose. Yet Stoicism is not a destination. It is a lifelong journey. The practices you begin today may not feel natural at first. You will stumble, grow impatient, feel the pull of old habits. This is normal. The Stoics themselves were not perfect. They simply returned to the path repeatedly, day by day, choice by choice. That is enough. As a modern man, you face challenges unique to your era. Constant distraction, relentless comparison, the pressure to achieve more, the fear of missing out. But the Stoics face challenges of their own: war, plague, betrayal, and uncertainty. Their teachings endure because they work. They are timeless, not because they promise comfort, but because they prepare man to endure, to act with purpose, and to live with honor. So, what does it mean to live as a Stoic today? It means accepting reality without resentment, acting with virtue without attachment to outcomes, mastering your mind and body, engaging with the world without being enslaved by it, and embracing each failure as a teacher rather than a threat. It means waking each day and asking, how can I be the man I am capable of becoming? Carry these principles forward. Practice them daily. Let them guide your choices, shape your character, and strengthen your spirit. Life will test you, as it always does. But when you live by these truths, you will face every storm with courage, every challenge with clarity, and every moment with presence. And in that, you will discover something profound. Stoicism is not merely a philosophy. It is the path to freedom, strength, and mastery of the self, the true hallmarks of the modern man. Live it, own it, become it.